podcast sponsored by Backer. My name's Zachary Neal. You know my co-host over there, Travis Rickley. Travis, what's up, man? How we doing?
Pretty good. Good to be with everyone live. Excited for the first show. Thanks, Geoff, for joining us. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. We are thrilled to be joined by our good friend Geoff Schwartz today for this live show. Geoff, what's up, man? How we doing?
I'm good. I'm excited for this week. You know, it goes by fast, right? You play Saturday, and all of a sudden it's Wednesday now, and before we know it, it'll be Saturday, 3:30 Eastern. So I'm looking forward to it, especially in this weekend where there's not a ton of great games. I mean, Oregon will be front and center at 3:30 right in the middle of the day. I mean, Oregon is competing with Colorado versus Delaware on Fox. That's the same. That's a game at the same time as Oregon, Oklahoma State. So I think people will tune in. It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think it should be a fun one, and we'll talk later about why it may be more fun now than it was originally because of what some of the coaches have said to each other. But we've got a really fun show for you guys today. If you're tuning in already, thank you for joining us. I see some more people trickling in as we get started, so welcome. Just a heads up, we will be taking questions throughout the show as they come up. So if you have anything to ask, if you want Geoff's opinion on anything, shout it out in the comments, and we will work to get everything answered before we close up in the next hour or so. Gentlemen, let's dive into week one. By now, we all know the storylines. We've done our rewatches. We've watched Geoff's great film review. In general, Geoff, I'll start with you. What were you most impressed by on Saturday? It's hard to judge success in kind of a blowout
Yeah.
against an inferior opponent, but what did you see that you really liked?
Okay, I think the best thing is this, right? Is there were so many new starters and nothing looked amiss, right? Nothing looked like it shouldn't. And you even go to the secondary, we have two freshmen playing and redshirt freshmen. I think I counted 20 guys that were either in their first or second year that played their significant snaps. And you added in a guy like Washington who hasn't really played it very much, or other players in their third year. And it didn't look messy. There was one maybe defensive blown assignment, but I would even argue that Mixon was doing the right thing and trying to get the quarterback. There were very few missed tackles. There were very few mental errors on the offensive line or at quarterback or wide receiver. I mean, there was, the mental errors kept happening on the edges where they weren't blocking it correctly on some of those quick passes. It wasn't even just the Moore pancake. There were other ones as well. Those are easy cleanups, right? Like those are easy, very easy to fix. And so that to me is the most important thing is last year they played back against Idaho, very clearly wanted to start differently this season, and they did a really good job of just playing a very clean game against Montana State. It's funny, Bill Conley put out the SP Plus for this weekend. Like, they're better than Colorado State, according to him. Like, they're not a terrible FCS team, right? And so I think that the domination that came out early and continued throughout the game, even, look, the fourth-string quarterback got run. It was a game where everyone got to play, and they all played well. And that, to me, is just a very good indication of a healthy culture and program.
Travis, what about you? What did you think about the game?
Well, I think just to double up with what Geoff said, I think what makes that all the more impressive is you have a team in Montana State that's like super well respected, well coached, experienced in a lot of ways. And so to be clean throughout from a young roster is obviously a huge piece of it. I mean, the depth for me was crazy. I was watching the mid fourth quarter today on my replay, and I'm looking at guys who, as I put in my takeaways, like probably start for Oregon teams in the last 10 years. Like there's guys on the 2s, 3s, 4 out there offensively and defensively that like fit every size, speed, athleticism combination we're looking for, and look like, I mean, competent players who know where to be, obviously know the play, like are dialed in. So I just think the like 1 to 85 top down was so impressive. I feel like I'm used to mid fourth quarter watching half walk-ons, seeing another team drive for late touchdown, seeing that score tighten. Like that's not going to be the type of roster we're running out late in games this year.
Well, and what I loved is, you never want injuries, and fortunately it sounds like Pregnon is going to be okay and Kavika is going to be okay. But we had questions, not questions about the offensive line, but just, we're curious to see how they gel early on, especially after how last year went. They had injuries early, and they kind of had to shuffle things, and they didn't miss a beat throughout the whole time. So I thought that was just really impressive to see. Geoff,
Yeah, I mean,
It was.
go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, I think everything we said was important here because I think there was trepidation about new, like all the newness that we were going to see, and it didn't look new to me, which is super important.
Geoff, I'm curious about this. When you sat down on Sunday to go through the film,
Yeah.
what were you most excited to watch? Like, were there any things that you remembered on Saturday that you made a mental note of that you really wanted to get back to break down?
Well, the more block on the Bryant touchdown was like number one, and I was able to do that like immediately. The film was up like immediately. I was doing it in my hotel room in Eugene, and then obviously he did the wrong thing. But look, if you do the wrong thing, go 100% doing the wrong thing, which he did, which is a great kind of coaching point, right? If you make a mistake, do it fast. And then I think I wanted to see a couple of things which I highlighted on my video. I wanted to see that Jay Harris long pass completion because I think Moore did a good job of manipulating the defense and knowing what to do. And then defensively, it was Washington. I mean, I mentioned at the time, I mean, he was in the backfield every single play. And look, one thing, by the way, can we get better Wi-Fi in Autzen Stadium? Like, can we work on that? It's like I go like every other year. Like I'm trying to like send my thoughts out. I'm trying to text like people are like Alabama, Florida State. It's weird. I'm like trying to get updates and like the internet was so. I was tweeting my thoughts out in real time. 20 minutes later, finally loaded to social media. My one that's the only Autzen was incredible. My wife's first time there, like the best time. She loved it. Just personally, the Wi-Fi like cell service thing. It's 2025. We gotta find a way to be able to send text messages, right, guys? I mean, you're there every weekend. I'm not. You're working as well. I'm just in the stands. Nonetheless, I kept tweeting about Washington. The tweets wouldn't send, but he was in the backfield all the time. And again, it's Montana State. I get it, but their offensive line's not bad for FCS, right? It's a good offensive line. Some young guys there, but the thing that Washington though is it wasn't just it's the quickness. Like it was very noticeable on film.
You got to
I
get
feel
that
like
press
to
box
that.
Wi-Fi. Just saying that much. The press box
What?
Wi-Fi is good. The press box
Yeah.
Wi-Fi works.
Oh, see, I almost text someone. I was on the club side. I almost text someone. I was like, "Can I have like the UO password for the Wi-Fi?" Because I knew someone. I probably could have gotten it if I really wanted it. But I'm kidding. That's not like what regular people can do. So it wasn't that important. But I needed. I was surprised in the year of 2025 that the Wi-Fi wasn't a little better. Nonetheless, great time, of course.
Well, between that and the like by Mark scoreboard, and they're putting up scores from Thursday and like scores from 4 hours ago. It's like if
Yeah.
we're not gonna have Wi-Fi, can we give a real score of a game?
That my dad noticed that pretty quickly. He was like, I want to see the score of the games. I was like, I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to tell you. And then eventually, the second half, they started putting them up there as well. But you're right; it wasn't like real time. They had some games that like some FCS games. You're like, I
Yeah.
just give me Alabama, Florida State. If you did a picture in picture, it would have been nice in the third quarter. Just put it up there as well. That's of course joking. I don't need that. But yeah, enough of that though. I thought Washington to me immediately stood out as a difference maker in this game.
Travis,
So,
what was
Geoff-
your favorite thing from Jeff's film?
I mean, I think you obviously heard Dan talk about that more check in that situation too. But I think just like the Malik Benson piece is a huge one. I mean, we've been talking about him for a while as a guy that has every bit of talent in the world, size, speed, and hands were the question, and just like route technicality stuff like that. I mean, that was a big time guy coming out of college that we wanted bad and end up going to Alabama. So I think if he can develop like you saw in that touchdown into like a technician. Taking that next step. I mean, we need a guy opposite Moore to be that dude. It seems like Gary Bryant Jr. is going to be in the slot. Seems like DeCorian's going to be on one side. I mean, if Malik Benson can turn into a consistent, reliable threat that we can rely on, I think that's huge for the offense.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, you mentioned it a little bit. I loved what Dante did. You know, Dan talked about it after the game. Geoff went over it, but just his check when kind of making that, not making the play. Taking what was in front of him. I think that was really important to see.
Geoff, what did you? I know your first film room you did. You
Yeah.
talked about Pregnon stance. Did you
Yeah.
have a chance?
Also wanted to ask
update
It was better. Yeah, it was better. I thought the offensive line was interesting. They tried a bunch of different things early in the season I think on purpose, right? They tried just doing different things, and so it was interesting to see what they did. Look, I've told Dan this actually before when I've spoken to him, like about just generally offensive stuff. Like I think RPOs are fine. They're fine. There's a purpose for them. I don't think you should major in that as your offensive run, because what teams can do is they can say, okay, we want you to throw the ball every time you need to run the ball. And they know you're going to throw the ball. And like I thought in game one, we saw a lot of must runs. Like the first play of the game, under center, outside zone. And I love that so much because there are times this season, mostly Penn State, like you're going to have to, at Iowa, you have to get in under center, and run the freaking ball. And I loved that part of this game. I also loved, look, he got hurt. 73 got hurt. They moved 74 over to left guard. I know I use numbers. It is what it is. They put in, they put Bedford in, which is a huge bonus to have a 6th-year guy just as basically your third string guard. Didn't miss a beat. And then later in the second half, they moved 71 into right guard and put Wilson, that's Wilson, right? 78 at right tackle. And it looked all the same. Like that. So the depth of the offensive line, I thought the different things they did, they started pulling the center a little bit more than they have in the past, which I think he looks a little bit more agile this year. I think not that he wasn't agile, but he looks a little bit just in better condition as a player this year. So, and look, I ran out on Pickard last year. Pickard 70 Pickard last year. He even looked better this season, like in the first game. I want to see World do a little better run blocking. That's something I've noticed. Like he just sort of is so big and strong. Sometimes he just gets a little too excited and just be patient. Get your hands where they have to be, get your feet where they have to be. Other than that, I thought it was a really good job. I mean, I don't think Dante Moore got touched at all in that game. There was one giant missed block. If 71 blocks that guy on that GT, Dante Moore might walk into the end zone. It was about 40-yard line going in. I like the quarterback runs. They had 2 of them, right? They had the one early on. They had the one later. So seeing Dante Moore used in the run game is really an advantage for a team that can do that correctly.
Travis, we got a question here from Adam. It says, J-Mac is looking as good as well. What are your thoughts on Kyler Casper? Just curious if you can answer that.
I mean, I think, it's fluid every week. I mean, he was out there plenty on Saturday, but I think that, in terms of what McClellan can offer, a little more versatility when it comes to that position. And then I think, like we said, I mean, Malik Benson, in terms of just like the long speed that he offers, I think there's going to be opportunities for Casper, especially I think Austin mentions it here, like in the red zone. I think that he has utility there, but I mean, I think it's fluid. It's hard to take away many things from the running back rotation, wide receiver rotation right now, but I think it's pretty clear that, J-Mac and Benson may be a hair ahead right now, but that doesn't mean that, Casper's in a bad spot. And I think that you get to a situation where you're down inside the 20 and need a big threat. I mean, I think that he certainly has utility there.
Geoff, question for you from Matthew. He says also from the Palisades, can you give us an idea of what the detailed morning routine would look like on Saturday game day for the players or the coaches with a 1 p.m. kick?
So they got there I think I saw Dante Moore got there 8:30, I think, in the morning. I think I saw the picture of that. I mean, that's super early, but you typically get there. This is 2.5 hours before a game. It's sort of when you get sort of in the locker room, maybe 2 hours before a game. Some do it 3. I mean, college is different because you all go together. I mean, the NFL is what I obviously did for a long time. You sort of get there when you want, and you have everyone's different routine. Some guys will go stretch, some guys will go in the hot tub, some guys will go even in the cold tub, some guys will listen to music, some will not. And the goal is just to get ready however way you need to do it. Obviously, the players go back on the field. Not all of them go back on the field to warm up. Some just warm up when it's time for the team to warm up. So it really depends on what you need as an individual player to get ready to play. Some guys are watching film on game day morning, some are not. Some go to the bathroom a bunch because they're nervous. Some do not. Like, it just depends on who you are as a player. So I think that that sort of differs. Coach. I mean, some coaches are looser about it. I think Dan, I would imagine, lets the guys do what they want to get ready to play.
Thank you guys for those questions. Keep sending them in. We'll continue to answer them throughout. As we go further, we're going to talk more about some guys from this last game. Look ahead to Oklahoma State. Before we do that, though, Travis, will you tell me a little bit about Backer?
Yeah, I know each of us are kind of repping our different Backer material right now, so I just want to give one of our amazing sponsors a big shout. Corey over at Backer is an Oregon guy. He's an Oregon alum. Went to the same high school Zach and myself did at South Eugene, but he has created this line of Oregon material. As you can see, we've got the block UO and all of our stuff. I'm wearing the warm one, which is the big puffier coat, but just like the detail and everything. I mean, you can see on the inside cover here, we got the fight song in it. It's just so every little piece of the jacket has been well thought out, detailed, everything. And I just know as we get in, deeper into the season, colder games, this is going to be something Duck fans can rely on. I would just encourage them to check them out. Geoff, I know you got the cool one over there.
Yeah, I got the pullover. I can't wear the big puffy jacket like you can in September 3rd, but I can definitely rock this one. Look, I use these in Charlotte. I have the lightweight windbreaker as well, sort of the waterproof one, and it really is what I think a lot of times things say they're going to keep you dry. This has kept me dry. I've used it in Charlotte. We've had rain for a long time in August, and it's very comfortable. It's easy to wear. It fits over my clothes. I was worried about the size, obviously being a bigger guy. And it works quite well. And this pullover is super nice and comfortable. And so it's really just good material. It's really worth it.
I was telling Travis earlier, I mean, my wife gives me crap all the time because I wear my pullover, the hoodie pullover, all the time in the house, like day after day, because she keeps the AC on a little bit colder than I would like her to. But I got to keep a sweatshirt on. It's perfect. It's not too heavy. I don't get too hot, but it's nice for those little indoor days when it's a little bit cooler than you want it.
Yeah.
I
So
can
I
see
mean,
that.
definitely backer bckr.com. Check them out. I know we have the code Rising Free right now, which gives you expedited shipping and 10% coming back to Ducks Rising. So it's just an amazing opportunity to support good Oregon people. Money's coming back to us. Great way to support Ducks Rising itself. But most importantly, I mean, we all believe in this product. We're not just selling it because someone's giving us a cut. Like they sent us this stuff. We've got it in our hands, and we believe in it. So just encourage everyone to check it out.
Absolutely. All right, I want to talk about Dante Moore. He's been getting a ton of buzz nationally, I think, particularly over the past couple of weeks. Played really well on Saturday. What was the best thing that you saw from him on week one? Obviously, we mentioned that play that he didn't make. That's, Dan talked about that as well. But from the stuff that he did do, what did you like that you really saw, Geoff?
So I just think it was like a full command of the offense, right? I highlighted the Benson touchdown. He just knew where to go with the ball immediately. And there were other times I thought were impressive where it was, he'd look right or he looked left. I'm pointing left right now. He looked left, he'd look 1-2, and then hit number 3. There was, I think, a third down that Bryant kind of caught like a little spot route where he was the third guy in the progression. On the throwaway, not throwaway, the 5 yard rush to set up the field goal there. I mean, he could have waited maybe for Cooper to come, you kind of get eventually inside, but he just like, look, it's not, we're up 14-0. Let's go to the 5. In a maybe this weekend they go for it on 4th and 5, certainly possible. But also they did like, if there's 100 different ways to pass the ball, they used like 5 of them against Montana State. And Montana State, to be fair, like they played super deep safeties. They weren't going to let them throw deep. They didn't really try to throw deep. Like it was a very just package game plan. I really felt too like the one opportunity to throw the ball was that 2-minute drive, and he did a really good job. I actually am curious to see the next couple of weeks. Like they're going to have to cut out some of the game plan for him to throw the ball. Like they're going to have to, before we get to Penn State, like something's going to happen next couple of games where you just say like, we're spending 3 drives. He's going to, we have 40 passes in us today. Like that's going to happen at some point. Because you mentioned the wide receivers, right? Like Moore is good, but still a young kid. Benson feels pretty good. Sadiq feels like he's one of the top 3 options, but you probably need a 4 and a 5. You mentioned Casper earlier. Casper to me is more of like a straight line guy. Like he's going to be just running down the field, run deep post routes, big red zone guy to catch the ball. So I just thought Moore played a very controlled. I mean, look, the incompletions were, he threw it a little too hard to Sadiq one time. Sadiq dropped the pass as well. I think he had a throwaway one time. Like it was a very just complete game plan from him.
Travis, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just see the value that year in the system had. I mean, it's pretty crazy to think, but I thought when you compare Dante's first game to Dylan's first game last year, I thought Dante looked infinitely more comfortable. And he's had what, 5 starts and Gabriel was on 50. I mean, it shows you the value that being in a system and knowing a system has. And I mean, I just thought everything was simple. He just looked under control. Like his body language looked under control. He looked like he knew where the ball needed to go. I mean, he had multiple like full field reads, I thought, where he's going 1, 2, 3, ball's going back over the middle or ball's going check down. So I just thought it was clear, like he enacted the plan that Dan and Stein had for him, which, as Dan said after the game, was like it was a simple game plan. He knew what he was going to do, and like everything was just super dialed. So, I mean, I think I've said for a long time that Duck fans should really read into the fact that he chose to sit here as a year as like a huge asset and a huge credit to him in terms of what he knew he needed. And I think that was a perfect illustration of what learning for a year and learning a system does for a guy.
Well, and Geoff mentioned too, just the command of the offense. I mean, Geoff broke down the pass to Jay Harris over the middle in his film, and we talked to Dan about that, and then Dante about it yesterday. He said that he switched away, he shifted the line away from a loaded front, and I asked Dante, I think yesterday, about what he saw from that. He's like, yeah, we drilled that several times in practice. We knew that they were going to line up like that at some point. So I did the check that we knew was going to happen, and the play worked out how we thought it would. So that's stuff that, that's the value that you get from being in the program for so long. And, his first career started at Oregon, but it didn't feel like it at all.
It certainly didn't. And look, there was a lot I think he had to learn, and I think you saw that with him deciding to sit last year. And also, look, someone on the staff told me that they view him more of like in a Bo Nix mold than a Dylan Gabriel, just from a board, and just you saw that with some of the empty stuff that they did. Dylan Gabriel just didn't do a lot of that last year. And they let Dante and even just in game one, a little more. Remember, early last year, there was a lot of check with me as the line of scrimmage. The offense, and he mentioned it was kind of too heavy in week one. And this didn't feel that way at all. He was under control. He's making the checks. He was doing what he has to do. And dude, he's got a cannon of an arm. Like the ball flies out of his hands. So I'm curious again. I think they have to add sort of, something every week just to get ready for Penn State.
Travis, what do you want to see more from him in week 2?
I mean, I think it's hard because, like Geoff said, you have to look for opportunities to like push the ball down the field and give more opportunities in the pass game. I think a lot of Duck fans went into the game being like, "Oh, I've heard so much about Dante Moore's arm talent. We're going to take a bunch of deep shots." And I don't think we really saw any for the most part Saturday. I mean, the selfish part of me would love to see us, take some deep shots down the field, but I also think like your best stuff, it doesn't really make sense to roll that out right now. So I think the thing, just to get back to what impressed me about Moore, was you see arm talent like show itself in a lot of different ways. I think people naturally attribute it to 50-yard bombs, but for him, it's just like, boom, ball's out of my hand and in a guy. I mean, you saw it on the Benson touchdown. You saw it on a couple of the comeback route. Like the effortless nature at which he gets the ball out, that's arm talent too. And so I think we'll see a little more the next couple of weeks in terms of down the field stuff. It's just something I'd like to see.
Geoff, I'll ask you this. We've got a game of proof now, and it feels like it may be a little bit too early to be asking this question, I know, but have your expectations changed at all after just, finally seeing him on the game for a full game as a starter? What do you think is like a reasonable ceiling for him now?
Yeah. Look, I mean, I made this point in some of my preseason talk. Like, we've had 2 straight quarterbacks go to New York for the Heisman. I don't know why he couldn't be the third. He's just as talented as those guys. And then obviously it's early, it's game 1. And I'm curious about Oklahoma State this week. I know we'll get into Oklahoma State a little bit. I watched their defensive film. I don't know if he'll have a lot of pass attempts this week either. I'm curious sort of how they get that out of him. If they took, I think if I recall in the game, they took sort of one of those where he did that rollout, right? The Bo Nix did, right? Where you pin the defensive end and then roll out. He found a 10-yard gain. Like, just take the 10-yard gain. No one was open. Montana State was playing the safeties way back. He hit the deep dig early in the game, which was good. He looked left, he looked sort of down right, and then looked over the middle of the field. I mean, he was able to do those things, but no one's going to give it to you, man. Just take the 7, 8, 9 yards. I mean, it's moving the ball down the field. And so I'd love for him to throw the ball deeper. I really would, but I don't see the purpose of doing it if the defense is not giving it to you.
Well, and that's the Will. I feel like that's the Will Stein effect, and that's what we've seen from the last 2 guys. Is like Stein, and he said it in fall camp. Like, he is a believer in, if there is 5 to 7 yards there, like, take your win and keep the ball moving. I think he had some quote in fall camp of like, my biggest focus is just like keep the chains moving and possess the ball. And the more we possess the ball, especially get the ball over the 50, like now we've got 4 downs to score touchdowns. So I think it's clear that's made it to Dante, and like there's a little shift in terms of, efficiency versus shots.
We got a question here from OK Player. Geoff, what is the upside of this line when healthy versus the last few years? Do you think it's a Joe Moore finalist again?
If we finish second in Joe Moore Award, I might quit the committee. It's going to be a problem. I mean, yeah, I think it's as good as it can be. I mean, look, you have a guy at World who is a possible first-round pick. I think it's pretty high for him to, center's being drafted, left guard's probably being drafted. It's a very talented group. And so, yeah, I mean, the ceiling's as high as it can be. It's just a matter of, winning that award. For whatever reason, man, it just hasn't gone home, man. I don't know what it is. About them that we can't seem to win that award. We've been second place 3 times now in my time doing it in 19 and 23 and 24. So it's frustrating, but the group can be really good. And I think too, we saw the tight ends block really well, the wide receivers block. Like the entire group is brought in to just being really physical, and that shows on the film.
Yeah, I was amazed by. I mean, obviously we've talked about the receivers blocking, but by Kenyon's blocking in particular. Like we know that he's an
He's so
improved
good. He's
blocker,
such a good
but
block. He's such a good
man,
blocker. I don't know why he
he's a
didn't get
good
credit.
blocker.
He was dominating dudes last year. I don't know why he didn't get credit for that. He's going to be a first round pick. Um, he's such a valuable weapon. Look, there's the NFL. It's hard to guard tight ends. It's impossible in college. You don't have anyone to guard them. You just don't. It's that simple. Like you just don't have those guys, and um, you you can't design a defense really, in my opinion, to stop a tight end. We see it every year with these tight ends, Bowers and Warren. I mean, you know the ball's going. Even last year, remember we played Michigan, like Loveland. It's like the ball's going to him every time, and it didn't matter. He still caught the football. They're impossible to stop. So I'm very curious to see what they do with him. And look, I saw in this game too. There were 13 sets, right? One receiver, three tight ends, running back. The amount of versatility you have when you have multiple tight ends allows you to do a lot of different things. And then you can see the defense pairs it. If the defense wants to go big, you pass the ball. If the defense wants to go small, you run the ball. So it gives you an opportunity to do a lot of different things based on what the defense will show you.
Travis, question from Sean. Do you guys think after the struggle from last year's starts, do you guys think that it's all gas and no breaks this year during these non-conference games?
I mean, I think that probably impacted the mindset and the discussion in fall camp a little bit. I also think that we talked about this last week, Zach. Like you have a team of unproven guys who are clearly hungry to compete. And I think that's a big difference last year. I think the last year you have a veteran experienced team, a lot of guys who have established themselves at this level. Like it's not ideal, but it makes sense, I suppose, why you might coast into a season a little bit. You've been there before. You know what's to come. You know the big games come later in the season. I mean, there's a bunch of freshmen, sophomores, redshirt freshmen who haven't played college football before. So, I mean, you could just tell the level of, like, excitement. Those guys were fired up to be out there. Those guys are ready.
Yeah.
So, like, I just think that goes first quarter to fourth quarter, and it's going to be the same thing these next three games.
I think, too, one thing I noticed, and I was actually looking for this, like, we scored in the third quarter, which we didn't do last year.
Did not do much.
And I think that was important to me. Like, come out of halftime, defense, forced a field goal. By the way, I don't know if I actually very much was. The Montana State fans cheered so loudly after both
Yes,
field
they
goals.
did.
Like,
They did.
I loved it because it's like, screw it, man. Like, let's just enjoy ourselves. We got some points. Like, I loved it. They were so happy, and they should be. It was a tough matchup for them. They should absolutely celebrate as much as they want for those field goals. But I thought third quarter was important. We came out and scored, which we did not do last season. That was a problem, as we know, multiple times last year. I think, Travis, you mentioned like the amount of young guys that played. They're going to play hard the entire game, and you're going to see, I think, until you get to Penn State, and that includes a conference game, obviously, you're going to see a lot of guys play. I mean, they basically did entire line shift in the secondary. They just like put four out, put four in, or put five in, put five in. Obviously defensive line, they line shift. Like they do things like this, and they have to find out who those core guys are when it really gets into tougher games.
Yeah, let's stay on these young guys. By my count, and this count could be wrong, but I think 27 players who are either true freshmen or redshirt freshmen got in this game. A lot of them early on in the game as well. There are dozens of players that we could highlight here, but off the top, who stood out to you guys the most from that group? Geoff, I'll start with you.
Well, I mean, obviously Moore was pretty impressive. I thought that Finney played really good. I mean, to be that big and run like that, I highlight that play, like his ability to run across the field like that. Again, the secondary players in Montana State didn't do very much, but I just thought they were in the right place. They tackled well. Like no one missed it. I don't think we missed any tackles. Just like all those little things that are no dumb penalties like at all. And which I think again is super important. Those running backs are good, man. Like the Hughes thing, I just think those guys might be better. Like I know Hughes played a lot. He didn't get a ton of carries. He had second most snaps, but I just think that like they're good. Like they're like that's why they're playing. They're that good as running backs. And so that's some guys that stood out to me as far as the young guys.
Travis, you.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the running backs at the end there. I think you can tell Hill, especially, just in terms of the dynamic and like the juice he brings back there. It's a little different than everyone else in that room. So I think he's the type of guy you're going to see opportunities for throughout the year. And I mean, they just got to find opportunities to get him the ball. given the like speed that he brings, which is something that's a little bit different than the rest of that room. I mean, even a guy like Wyatt. I mean, Wyatt comes in at the end and just trucks a running back, basically like dives over him and gets a sack and is
awesome.
third snap. So like these are, I mean, this freshman class I mentioned on Twitter this morning is going to go down as an all timer. I mean, I think there's very much a world in which Finney and Offord are both what day one, day two NFL guys for sure. I mean, you add in Hill, you add in DeCorian. I mean, Cooper Perry's out there. He's in the two deep. I mean, he's playing. He was in there third or fourth. Time we possessed the ball. So that class, man, is going to be maybe the best we've ever had.
Well, and not just to pick an easy one off the stat sheet, but Jordan Davison, led the team in touchdowns. Like, he may not be the home run threat that Dier is or that some of the other running backs are, but the different element of offense that he gives you, like Noah said after the game, is like no one's stopping him from getting 1 yard, 2 yards, 3 yards. Like, he's such a big guy and he runs so downhill that, there's a lot of times in games where you're going to need a first down for 1 yard or 2 yard out or a goal line run, and you give it to him. I think they feel really confident. So
the other guy quickly, I actually did. I know the roster decently well. I'll say it, but I didn't know who Nix was. I'm gonna lie.
Yeah.
I saw him get out there, and he was the fourth linebacker. He was the fourth guy. It was Mixon, it was Bryce, it was Jackson, and then it was Nix. And dude, he looked good. Like, I've complained about the linebackers for a couple years now. I think sometimes we don't really see things quite as well as we should from that position. I thought Nick saw everything he should. I think he was where he's supposed to be. He was active. He kind of looked. There's a linebacker look when you play the position. Like he kind of like they kind of stand like the shoulders are broad, kind of like arms out. Like he kind of like looked that part, if that makes sense. Like like you see Ray Lewis, right? Like kind of just like big shoulders, big chest, like out arm. You know what I mean? Like he kind of like had that look to him. I'm not saying it's Ray Lewis, obviously, but like he just looked like a true middle linebacker type. The other thing that's interesting, that not one of the young guys, but Blake Purchase played off the ball a bunch as like an outside linebacker type. Like he didn't really rush the pass. That was interesting. This schematically, like there was a time when Montana State, I think third or two, they kind of put big guys in, and Purchase was the third off the ball linebacker. That had not something I didn't see coming either.
So I feel like we're going to transition a little bit to Oklahoma State here. I feel like we could have started the show with this, but credit to us for saving it. Can we talk about Mike Gundy for a little bit? If you haven't seen the headlines, Oklahoma State's coach had a lot to say about Oregon's NIL and their budget, how much they spend on their roster. He also floated the idea that the Ducks should maybe schedule non-conference games against teams with similar budgets, ignoring the fact that this home-and-home was scheduled back in 2018 when the teams were actually ranked like right next to each other in the top 25. I looked.
Yeah.
Jeff, what were your initial thoughts when you heard what Gundy had to say and, when Dan made his response last night?
My initial thoughts were he watched the film and thought he's getting his ass kicked this weekend, and he's just setting up the reasons why. And I watched their defense play. They're watching their offense without their starting quarterback feels kind of pointless, but without the guy who's going to play this weekend, the starting quarterback got hurt. I think he just watched the film and was like, holy shit, we are very far behind. And it was a shot at his boosters, but also it was a shot at Oregon. Like, I know Oklahoma State fans, it wasn't complimentary because you didn't have to, the thing about paying Dante Moore extra to stay, like, there were little things he said in there. Like, if you just said, like, Oregon has good players, they pay a lot for them, but they develop them and they do a good job. Like, end of story, that's done. But to exaggerate $40 million a year on the roster, we know that's not true. I read this all the time, right? Oregon does pay. They don't pay the most for every player. I cannot stress this enough, right? You guys know this. You talk to the same people I talk to. They don't pay. Some guys they do. Some guys they say, you know what? You're that good. We're paying you all the money. Okay. The other guys, they don't do that. They don't do that. The guys come because they like the coaching staff. They like the plan. Oregon is so buttoned up when it comes to the plan they have for the players, the resources they have for them. They don't have to pay the most money for all these guys. So it's just insulting to do that. And whenever you have the connotation of they just quote unquote pay the players, you don't give credit to the coaches and the staff for developing these guys. Because, look, plenty of teams have 5-star guys. They don't pan out. Oregon's done a great job of building these guys up. And you see that, like, I think Washington's one of the better, cases for that. I mean, Bo Nix guys was like a throwaway first-round pick, like starting for a team that people think is going to be a playoff team this season in the NFL. So I just thought it was foolish. I love Dan's answer, man. You can tell, we've known Dan's 4th year with Lanny now. You can tell when he's watched the film as well, and he knows what's about to happen. I'll tell you, look, I watched Oklahoma State's defense. If they structurally play the way they played against UTM, we will not know the name of the punter again this weekend. It's that simple. Like, they just cannot play. They certainly can play this way. We are going to rush for 300 yards. It's like that simple. And so I think Lanning knows this. I think Gundy knows this. I mean, Oregon's a 20.5 point favorite against a Power 4 team. It's not Montana State. It's a Power 4 team that they are 20.5 point favorites against. And maybe it's a tad high, I get it, but I saw someone projected at 32.5. And so I think both coaches saw the film and determined what was going to happen already, and Gundy was trying to find an excuse.
Well, and you look at last year, I mean, different team, different roster, they've got a lot of transfers, but Oklahoma State had the 126th best defense in the nation out of 134 teams, and I don't think they improved that much. So, Travis, I mean, we know Dan, he loves his motivational material, his bulletin board stuff. What do you think he's telling his players this week about that?
I just wish we could. It sounds like he learned his lesson from the Colorado game a few years ago, letting the ESPN cameras in, but I wish we could. We need to get a mole in there to hear the pregame and all the talk this week to see what that. I mean, it's just so rich coming from Oklahoma State, which had like the richest booster, honestly richer than Phil, for like Gundy's first 15 years there. Who like built crazy facilities and everything, and then I mean, like you said, Geoff, and I've heard other people mention this. I mean, I think it's clear it's a booster ploy on his end, and then I mean, Dan, that was the elite of the elite press conference he had the other night with everything that happened. I mean, that one was a double watcher for me. And I mean, he's gonna. That's the thing. It's just like the guys on the roster. I mean, Geoff, you mentioned Washington. I mean, he cost something, but it wasn't anything crazy. Betcher is a developed walk-on. Sadiq, nothing crazy. I mean, you just think about the guys who are our highest impact players. Oklahoma State had every shot at them that we had. So, I don't know. It's just typical. Oregon. People just love to use Oregon as the boogeyman for everything NIL.
Yes.
It's Oregon. It's Oregon. And yet, it's just investing in winning. I mean, that's what Dan said. He said, we're proud to be at a place that values winning. Same with Ohio State. Same with Texas. Same with every other team in the top 10.
Well, I just love it. Some people don't spend as an excuse for why they don't win. It's like, couldn't have said it better. It's perfect.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
All right, before we get out of here, Geoff, I want to open this up to you a little bit. You came back to Otson for the first time since graduating, I believe.
I've been back. I've been back. It's my wife's first time. Yeah, we've been back. It's my first time with the kids. Yeah, wife's first time.
Thank you. Yeah. But you got to spend some time around the program, be at the facilities, take in practice on a Friday. What was that like for you?
Oh, I mean, look, I think that inviting players back and being so welcoming is fantastic. I think that Lanning just seems like a real genuine person. I think that sometimes coaches can be one way in the public, and I've certainly had coaches like that, and there's reasons for that. And then obviously different behind the scenes. I think he's the same guy all the time. We were at practice, and he talked to my son afterwards. Just was like, didn't talk football. Just asked him like what movies he was watching on the airplane, and he's like, my son was watching Happy Gilmore 2, which I guess. I had not watched it yet, and Dan and him were talking about it. He just like seems like a genuine person, and so the ability for him to have a program like this and still be that way, and really everyone, right? I mean, everyone on the program feels the same way, and I think we win a championship at some point under his tenure. It would be surprising to me if we didn't in the next 5 years or 7, how long that takes. I reiterate a lot. It takes first-time head coaches 6 years to win a championship for the most part. Ryan Day and Kirby and these guys. Especially when you try to build the roster the way you want it. I think now he's got the guys. Like, the defensive line is huge, man. Like, they're all huge humans. They're big. Like, you need those guys to win championships. You cannot have little people to win championships. So I enjoyed. My wife had the blast. She's not a football fan, and she's only been to a couple college games that just weren't very fun. This was a ton of fun. The kids had the best time. They loved it. We did shout. We did everything. We stayed to the very end. We stayed to the very, very end. So we had a great time.
You've seen NFL locker rooms. You've been a part of NFL practices. Yeah. Like, can you compare that? And I know that's kind of cherry picking a question, but can you compare that at all to what you saw at Oregon this past weekend?
I went to walkthrough, so that's kind of a not the best example. And NFL walkthrough is a little bit different than college. It depends on the coach. Like some coaches, we don't really have walkthrough. We practice Saturday and then we play on Sunday. Saturday practices can be. It depends on like sort of who your coach is. Sometimes they have helmets. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's, you put a little tape on. Sometimes you don't. The facilities though, the NFL facilities stink. There's no like, it's not, you can't compare them. Like there's not NFL. Facilities in college obviously for multiple reasons. Like in the NFL, you get paid. Like you don't just give me a chair with a back and it's comfortable. I don't really care what else I sit in. Like I'm just like it's so. College, you're enticing these young kids that are impressionable to come to your school. In this situation, the NFL, you're not. So there are better facilities now, but for the most part, most facilities are pretty boring in the NFL. So it really is. There's no comparison. But the thing I go back to a lot is everything Oregon does is the best. Like when they decide to do something, it's only the best. So if they're going to do something, it's going to be the best indoor facility that's ever been made. If it's the best, it's going to be the best. Locker room. It's the best, like the best uniforms, the best. It's all the best of everything, and they just do a really good job of nailing all those details.
Travis, you got anything to add there?
I mean, I think it's just the combination of a culture, a family environment. I mean, how many recruits do we hear talk about that? How many people around the team do we hear talk about that? I think you saw Mario start that, but I think that Dan's obviously taken it to a whole new level. I mean, I think back, we had our alumni corner with Josh Connerly this weekend, and he talked about how, he took a chance on this staff being a first-time guy who, Dan had never coached a game at this level. And Josh said that they outlined a plan for him. They told him he was going to be a first-round pick in 3 years, and he said that every single thing that they sold him on took place. And now Josh can tell that story, and you tell that story to the next guy and the next guy. So it's clear they've realized that, Scott Frost was wrong when he said that you couldn't recruit to Oregon, and they have, they have the backing now to do it. So I think when you combine just like resources, culture, staff continuity, all that, like you get a well-oiled machine that's just going to be in contention every year. Like I don't think that there's no blip here. I mean, this roster is only getting better. We said that last year. It might have been the best roster we ever had. Now we're saying it this year, and we very well, if we can hold on to some of these guys, we're probably going to say it again next year.
Yep, completely agree. All right, we're going to end things right there. If you tuned in for this live show, thank you very much. We really appreciate your support. Be sure to go check out Geoff's Film Room Breakdown week 1 on YouTube and watch our latest Alumni Corner with Josh Connerly that went up earlier this morning. If you are not hooked up with Ducks Rising just yet, now is the time. Head over to ducksrising.com and sign up. Remember that 97% of all proceeds go back to the athlete in the form of the NIL, so it truly is your best way to help contribute to the team, help Dan Lanning bring a championship to Eugene. Jeff, Travis, do you guys have anything to add before we get out of here?
Should be a fun weekend. Can't wait to watch it.
Zach, you need to find a way to get in that locker room before the game.
I think you might have a better chance than I do, but we'll see. Just text Mark.
Go in there before and put a little listening device.
I'll see what I can do. All right, guys. Thank you all